We break down the second training camp practice for the Chicago Bears next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Beran, and just got back from training camp, and it was an absolute blast. There was so much stuff going on, and that's why I just want to break it down today, and it was a treat. I live up in Wisconsin, so that's why we just got back, went down in the basement, and had to record this and just kind of break down what I saw out there today and some of the key pieces, and also who impressed and what didn't really impress me that much today in training camp. If this is your first time watching, make sure to like and subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers, and when we hit that mark, then I will donate $100 to the American Diabetes Association. You can also just listen to the show. Just search for Unbearable Sports anywhere that you get your podcast. I'll also be at training camp tomorrow, and then I'll do another report back as well. I'll try and do this as frequently as possible just to keep you guys informed with what's going on. So let's get it started with the key storylines that I saw out of it, and just starting it up for those watching. Picture of me with McCaskey, and it was awesome. I brought the kids out. I have 2 younger kids and my wife. We all went out to Bears training camp. Super fun. But with day 2, a couple things. We didn't see Thomas Graham Jr. out there, or was reported by Brad Biggs. I didn't really look too hard to see if he was out there, but I didn't notice him out there. And also Teven Jenkins was not out there as well. To this point, we still don't know why Teven Jenkins wasn't even out there. So we'll just have to wait and see the reasons why he was not out there on the practice field. Then next, Lucas Patrick walked off of the field with an apparent injury. To me, I didn't see it too much, but it didn't look too crazy. And a lot of people were saying he walked off on his own power. So hopefully it's not too serious. But after that, then you started to see them kind of shift around the offensive line a little bit more. But really at that left tackle spot, we saw Riley Reiff and Braxton Jones split a lot of that time. I definitely saw more Riley Reiff out there than Braxton Jones. I wasn't keeping track, but Riley Reiff definitely had the most snaps out there. And then after Lucas Patrick went down, we saw Doug Kramer out there for a little bit, but towards the end of practice, it was really Mustipher at center. And then you saw Schofield at right guard, and Reiff was really at that left tackle spot, mixed in a little bit with Braxton Jones. But it's kind of like what we already expected. You would assume that Schofield is eventually going to be that right guard, and then Reiff is going to be that left tackle for the Bears. But then also a couple other pieces and nuggets. I don't know why I love the linebacker position. Actually, I do. It's because I'm a Bears fan, so I like to focus in on it and focus who's starting. And I do like Jack Sanborn. So who was starting out there? So last practice, it was Jack Sanborn. Today, Joe Thomas was getting the starting snaps at the Sam linebacker position, while we had Nicholas Morrow at the middle linebacker position. And then we had Matt Adams as the starting weak side linebacker, because Roquan Smith is still on the PUP list, so he's not practicing with the team. A couple other big news items. Kyler Gordon was still taking a lot of snaps at nickel. Now, this isn't different, but what felt different is it feels like he's going to be the starting nickel. And in his press conference as well, hearing him talk about playing the nickel position, he sounds like he wants to be a nickel. Big reason? He's a physical guy. We know that he's a physical freak. We know that he's a bigger type of corner. So it seems like he wants to play that nickel position. And we've heard Eberflus talk about this, that the nickel corner is a very, very key position in this defense. So why not put him at that nickel defender? So when he was at the nickel, guess who was starting at the outside corner spot? Not Tavon Young. Thomas Graham wasn't there. So Kindle Vildor was the starting corner because Thomas Graham was not out there. And really, Kyler Gordon was that nickel corner. So to me, I'm looking at Kyler Gordon that he's not going to be the opposite of Jalen Johnson. He's going to most likely be that nickel unless we see something different. But right now, it's looking like Kyler Gordon will be that starting nickel, and then it's going to be more of a competition at that outside. Definitely keep you up to date if I see anything else change, but it looks most likely it's going to be that way. For those that like special teams, kick returners, Velus Jones Jr. fielded kicks first, then it was Byron Pringle, then it was Khalil Herbert, and then lastly, Treston Ebner. Now, Velus Jones Jr. is definitely the favorite to be that person. I think Khalil Herbert would also probably be maybe second, but still, it's nice to know there's no real surprises out there with at least this kick return spot. We knew Velus and Ebner were going to be contenders, and we saw what Herbert could do since I think he netted one of the highest, if not the highest, kick return average last year. But a couple other notes that I just wanted to jot down before I get into who impressed and who didn't impress me. Justin Jones is easily the best defensive tackle that we have on this roster. I say this as a good thing and as a bad thing because watching them up close, I was at the very far end. I was at the first stands that you were in. It was a bad spot. We got there late because the kids and us, we were all playing around. So I was able to be like front and center, see the offensive line versus the defensive line. And I think that the edges and the tackles, they went back and forth. There was good battles. But on the inside, the only person that really was beating his guy was Justin Jones. Now, bravo to Justin Jones, but I saw Kyrus Tonga just get completely stonewalled. Yes, he's a nose tackle, but there's a lot of people that would just kind of go try and attack and then just kind of throw their hands up and be like, no, I'm done. So it wasn't encouraging to see some of these defensive interior players. So it just cements what we've already talked about, that there's a little bit of concern on this interior, but really I was semi-impressed with what I saw out of the edges at least. And Zachary Thomas, great job blocking Kyrus Tonga. It was kind of a cool little thing to see out of a rookie that hasn't gotten a lot of attention out there. And last, this is a weird one, a quirky one, but I just wanted to throw this out there since I was at least at training camp. Robert Quinn signed the most autographs by far out of anyone. I mean, Justin Fields had a huge crowd all around him, but Robert Quinn really took the most time just to meet with the fans, was talking with the fans. And the reason why I bring this up is because he just talked about how much he wants to be a Chicago Bear, that he doesn't want to be traded. He wants to stay here. And seriously, he showed it. He was going around talking to people, and it was just really nice to see. And I just wanted to bring it up so you guys all know out there listening that, yeah, he shows that he's committed to the Bears, that he's committed to the city of Chicago. It was just nice to see in person. So bravo to Robert Quinn. We actually took a couple pictures with him. Incredibly nice guy. But yeah, so let's go over to what impressed me, because I was thoroughly impressed with this team. So to start things off, we've already talked about this before, but now since I've seen it, I can validate it. Jaquan Brisker's the real deal at safety. I was thoroughly impressed with him. He broke up multiple passes, 2 passes in a row. I think, yeah, 2 passes in a row. Just very, very good. Just knows for the football, is in the right place at the right time. We got somebody. And I know it's training camp. I know it's just that. But you just see him out there, and he just looks different. He looks solid. So he's just validating everything that everybody is talking about. You see him playing out there, and he's good. Even when the pads are on, he's still going to be making these plays because he's breaking up passes, which is exactly what you want to see out of a defensive back. Now, the next person that impressed me, Velus Jones Jr. I was not super high on them when they drafted him, and it wasn't because of the age. The age thing, when people bring that up, that's a stupid piece. But man, is he fast. He's got next level speed. I saw him just put his foot in the ground and just went upfield and just left the defensive back in his dust. He's got crazy change of direction, which I really like to see because I didn't see that a whole lot out of him at Tennessee. It was a lot of straight line types of things. But man, it was impressive. I really hope that he can do something with this offense. They incorporate him some way because yeah, when you create 4 yards, 5 yards of separation with a move, yeah, he definitely did impress me. And I feel like I'm bringing up a lot of the rookies, but this is also my first time seeing them in person. And Dominique Robinson, another rookie on my list. He's the edge out of Miami of Ohio. And man, this guy is big. This guy is fast. Yet again, we're not in pads yet. That's Tuesday. But still, Dominique Robinson looked to be a player out there. He went past the left tackle. He went past Riley Reif. He went past Cole Kmet and ended up getting what would have been a sack in a normal game against Justin Fields. Against the ones, he was able to do something like this. Dominique Robinson, for somebody who we just assumed we weren't going to see any of him, it's not saying he's going to have this huge breakout year, but we definitely have something with him. Keep in mind, too, Dominique Robinson really put his name on the map when he was at the Senior Bowl and in a lot of those practices. And I can see why. He's definitely a different type of player out there and really thoroughly impressed me. Someone that I definitely want to see come the preseason, because if you don't get a chance to see him live and in person, hopefully he'll impress you during the preseason. And let's go over to the cornerbacks. So just kind of continuing, there's a good chunk of people that stood out to me, and I want to go with the backup cornerbacks, not named Kindle Vildor, Lamar Jackson, and Greg Stroman Jr. Greg Stroman Jr. just seemed to be everywhere. All of a sudden, I'm like, where's that 39? And he just seemed to be in the right place at the right time, seemed to be sticky in coverage anytime that they threw it, and it was a really tight play. Greg Stroman typically seemed to be out there. Also, Lamar Jackson had 2 interceptions. The cornerback that we got, the known as kind of a toolsy guy, made a really great diving interception on an overthrow from, I believe, from Simeon. So overall, I thought I was very impressed with these backup cornerbacks. So something good to take away with this. And I could see them making the roster as the backups from what I saw, because they look like very solid contributors out there. Why they're not getting any reps with the ones, I don't know. Kindle Vildor is getting all that, so maybe it's something that this defense sees. Maybe it's a scheme fit that they like with Vildor. We don't know. And last, he didn't blow the doors off me, but there was a couple times that I'm like, who was that guy? And that's EQ St. Brown, Equanimous St. Brown, the former Packers wide receiver. I also wanted to add him out here because there's a lot of wide receivers that just get overlooked. So you're not really like, oh, okay, that person's probably not going to make the roster. I expected Equanimous St. Brown to kind of not impress me at all and just kind of blend in, but he stood out. I thought that was going to be N'Keal Harry, and N'Keal Harry, don't get me wrong, didn't have a bad day, but Equanimous St. Brown made a couple plays, and I was impressed. It was more than what I was expecting out of Equanimous St. Brown. So because of that, great job. And last, and I was really kind of debating on whether or not I should do this section, but we want to talk about this. So what didn't really impress me all that much? Now to start off, they have a little 40 time, and my 2-year-old ran a 16-second 40 time. Come on, Liam, you got to get your knees up. So, but it was fun. The kids loved running with the 40 times and seeing how fast they could run. But yeah, 16 seconds. It was adorable. But back to football. What didn't really impress me that much, and I was driving back with my wife, and I turned to her, and I was jotting this down. I'm like, I didn't see a lot of completions. Did you? And she's like, no, I really didn't, because there just wasn't a lot of completions by this offense. I don't know how else to slice it. There wasn't a lot of balls on the money. And yes, they're still learning this offense, so hopefully it gets better and better and better. But it wasn't impressive. There was a lot of short passes. The ones that I was tweeting out, follow me at Unbearable Sport, the ones that I was tweeting out, these were like circus catches. These were impressive plays. that you don't want every single time that you move the ball downfield. It's not saying that this offense is going to be bad. It's just saying, want to see a little bit easier plays in the middle of the field rather than having to hold my breath and be like, oh my God, are they going to come down with the ball? So, I mean, it is give and takes of being a Bears fan. But still, I would like to see just more completions, more middle of the field types of completions out there. We didn't see a lot. So it's very early. So hopefully this changes further along the road. Also, I saw a lot of false starts out there. It wasn't just me. A lot of other reporters reported this, and Luke Getsy also was not happy with that. So Luke Getsy got into his offense a little bit and was not happy with the false starts, and rightfully so. At first, I thought it was the defense jumping off sides. I was like, nice. And then you see Getsy getting mad at the offense, and you're like, oh, we messed up. So the offense definitely, it's not all together, and we already knew this. So we'll see how it is tomorrow. We'll see how it gets better and better and better. But then the last two that I wanted to just call out, I know we brought up Carson Taylor before. He's the undrafted rookie free agent out of Northern Arizona that I heard a lot about. They said he's this freak athlete. You got to watch him. And I watched him, and he always just kept trying to do the same move, and he was just getting blocked all the time. And there's no pads on, and you're just getting stuffed. You're just getting blocked like crazy. Didn't impress me too much. Does it mean that he's out of the league? No, but it just meant that you just didn't impress me too much. And last, this guy, Nathan Peterman, probably was the most disappointing person because no one really wanted him on this team, but watching him throw past 20 yards looked like me throwing a football out there. I am not a professional quarterback. It basically just looks like your drunk cousin throwing a football and trying to throw it 30 yards. It was just a lame duck wobbling in the air. People literally laughed when they saw the ball come out of his hands. It wasn't like, oh, it just slipped out. He did it again and again. It was not pretty. So Nathan Peterman, collect your paycheck. I don't know why you're on this team, but hey, man, hopefully he's good in the locker room or something like that. But he's on the team. I'm trying to think of anything else that I might have missed. Like I've mentioned before, Zachary Thomas with a great block. Eddie Jackson also got an interception. Justin Fields threw the ball. It was a touch high for N'Keal Harry, went past N'Keal Harry's hands and was intercepted by Eddie Jackson. But also another key piece too, N'Keal Harry actually made a couple really good contested catches that I saw as well. So it's nice to just see him getting a little bit more incorporated with this team. Maybe he becomes kind of the replacement of that. Maybe he is going to be that X wide receiver for us, where good blocker and brings a different dimension as well. Also, I saw a couple other players kind of shift towards the inside. Matt Eberflus talked about wanting to see what offensive linemen, and he also leaked out 8 offensive linemen that they want to have for the team, but what offensive linemen can play tackle and also guard. We saw Latavius Simmons today actually play a little bit of guard and played surprisingly pretty well at the position. Now, Cole Kmet also made a very good over-the-shoulder grab on a throw from Justin Fields that was right on the money. Also, they connected in double coverage right between this little window. Cole Kmet grabbed it, and that's what you love to see because there's definitely questions on Cole Kmet's hands. Now, looking through if there's any other things inside of my notes, and I mean, Darnell Mooney, I can always praise Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney looks like a number 1 wide receiver out there, very quick, can get open, and they made a couple plays together as well. But overall, it was good. It was a solid play. You feel better about the offensive line as a whole because the offensive line is coming together and we have some good players out there. The offense, though, as a whole, still needs to continue to work together. So I'll be at training camp tomorrow. I'll be giving another one of these little breakdowns. So you want to make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us anywhere that you get your podcast. Make sure to rate 5 stars. I appreciate it so much. And I'll see you tomorrow. And Unbearable Sports Podcast, we're out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bad chick.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.